Super Mayhem.
Hello friends, Tim here again from Super Mayhem, and boy howdy, do we have a hot dang show for you today. Not only do you get my usual awesomeness, but today you get that by at least 4 times betterness or something. As today the myth, the legend, the all-around nice guy, Danger Dolan, comes to the Mayhem again.
That's right, Tim. Sometimes I just need to say fudge it and jump on the dang Mayhem train.
The Mayhem train. I literally rode that bad boy from Phuket to Bangkok, Thailand once, but that's a story for another time. Today the two of us will be delving into some crazy, ridiculous and silly video game facts, and some stories too. So sit back, relax, smash that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up too if you can, and away we go. Okay, firstly I have to nerd out about some classic Mario stories. Like the fact that Mario wouldn't even exist if Nintendo could get the rights to Popeye. That's right, Mario was originally meant to be Popeye. Bowser would be Bluto and Peach Olive Oil. Like what the hell? Is Wimpy going to be Toad or something? The only reason the protagonist was named Mario was because the company's warehouse landlord at the time had that name. Another classic example are Chain Chomps. These guys were inspired by Miyamoto being chased by a dog when he was a kid. I guess it takes some trauma sometimes to create some magical things. Or maybe that's just being too profound over a situation where a kid is running for his life, away from an angry dog.
That poor guy. All he wanted to do was go home and create Mario. Maybe he was actually exploring caves and stuff. Yeah, that's actually one of the reasons he created the original Legend of Zelda game. During the development, The Legend of Zelda, Shigeru Miyamoto himself was inspired by a game for the Atari 2600 called Adventure, which was one of the first graphic-based adventure games in town. At one point, The Legend of Zelda was even simply called Adventure, which would have been pretty confusing if they'd stuck with the name. The principal inspiration for the Legend of Zelda series actually came from Shigeru's explorations as a young boy. When he was a child, he would venture into forests and even caves with the aid of a lantern. This sense of childhood adventure and mystery strongly influenced the game design. Miyamoto has even referred to the creation of the Zelda series as an attempt to bring to life a miniature garden that the gamers could put inside their drawer. Pretty magical stuff.
Yeah, but in the original maps, Dungeon 3 looks like a swastika.
Before you get too excited, the swastika symbol is actually just an ancient geometrical figure. It is a symbol of divinity and spirituality in some Eastern religions and Eurasian cultures.
You and your mastery of facts. Getting back to Mario for a sec, did you know that the Ghost Boo was originally named Boo Diddley? Interestingly, these characters were actually based off the game designer Takeshi Tezuka's wife, who apparently would normally be quite shy and timid around people, but also had an explosive temper, especially when Tezuka spent too much time at work. Mr. Miyamoto gave this quote during an interview with Nintendo Power magazine when talking about the introduction of the Boo Diddleys. Mr. Tezuka got an idea about putting his wife in the game. His wife is very quiet normally, but one day she exploded, maddened by all the time he spent at work. In the game, there is now a character who shrinks when Mario looks at it, but when Mario turns away, it will grow large and menacing. I guess it's nice that he at least wanted to add his wife to the game though.
Speaking of Nintendo, didn't they lose a court case because kids were getting blisters from too much gaming?
Haha, that's right. Those good old Mario Party games where they cause kids to rotate the joystick with the palm of their hand and get a blister. Nintendo even issued some gloves to solve the problem.
Well, at least they tried to address the problem. No one's wanted Nintendo's hand. Speaking of solving medical problems, back in 2005 when WoW released a new character called Hakar, they stumbled across an interesting medical dilemma. See, Hakar controlled a dungeon and also cast a highly contagious disease on anyone that fought him. Surprisingly, this disease started to run rampant in the game's servers, where many players died because of it. The most interesting bit of this story, however, is that now real-world epidemiologists are looking into the situation actually occurring. Researchers are taking information about what helped or inhibited the spread of the in-game disease and are working on models that will limit the actual spread of real-world diseases. Take that, Nintendo Glove.
Hey man, no glove, no love. But that is pretty awesome. video games do have a weird way of helping people out. I heard a story about one with Words with Friends. You remember that game that took the world by storm for like a month? Anyway, an Australian woman had a friendship with another lady from Missouri through the game's chatting system. One day, the Aussie lady told her friend that her husband wasn't feeling well and described his symptoms. Luckily, the Missouri woman's husband was a doctor and was able to diagnose the symptoms and told him to go to the hospital immediately. Good thing that he did too, because the quacks discovered a 99% blockage near his heart. The guy nearly frickin' died, but he was saved by Words with Friends.
Yikes, it's good to share a word with friends, I guess. Or play video games in general, really. Did you know there's proof that video games train people to make correct decisions faster than average people? It even helps with driving, multitasking, and navigating around town, because video games help you develop a heightened sensitivity to what's going on around you. Some studies have even shown that surgeons who game on the regular actually make 37% fewer errors and manage to complete tasks 27% faster than doctors that don't play games.
Hey, that's pretty cool. It's definitely a good reason to keep on gaming, whether you're a surgeon or not. I have heard similar things, like the DS helping people out who had lazy eyes even. Is there anything video games can't do? I remember still when people thought video gaming was the spawn of the devil or something. Man, I'm getting old.
Well, you are pretty old, but even before video games were being blamed for the actions of children, it already started back in 1979 and again in 1990 when kids were playing Dungeons and Dragons. Apparently that was a bad thing too. What is with people thinking using your imagination and coordination skills is a negative thing?
It's probably stories like the one back in 2011 where some nutjob 46-year-old man from Plymouth, England found and attacked a 13-year-old kid just because he owned him too many times in COD. But even then, this is an adult being the aggressor, so who knows.
Yeah, you do hear those sorts of odd stories of people going nuts about gaming or game themselves to death or something, but I'm pretty sure the good outweighs the bad. And after all, there were intense violence long before Mario jumped on that first Goomba. Plus, what are you gonna do? Be like South Korea, make it illegal for children under 16 to play video games after midnight?
Yeah, that's probably taking it a bit too far, especially when you look at the physical and financial benefits even of gaming. For example, in 2008, when Guitar Hero Aerosmith was released, not only did it sell over 3 million copies worldwide in 2 years, but also following the release of the game, the sales of the band's music went up as far as 40%. Activision's CEO even went on the record, possibly jokingly, that the Aerosmith Guitar Hero game actually brought in more revenue than any of the band's albums ever.
Now you're playing with power, as Nintendo would say anyway. How popular are Aerosmith anyway? And I don't want to miss a thing. Talk about FOMO, fear of missing out. Think about the best-selling game ever made too, Tetris. The bad boy sold over 170 million copies in various forms. Just shows you, games don't have to have too many bells and whistles to be peak performers. Just a nice solid gameplay loop can have you hooked for hours and also rake in some serious big bucks for developers.
That kinda gets me thinking about the most expensive game to actually make. As I don't think Tetris would have been the most difficult thing to develop, even if it is a great game. According to good old Wikipedia, the title of the most expensive game to produce goes to Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, back in 2009. I wouldn't have guessed that one, but with its budget of $50 million to develop and insane $200 million to market, I can see why Activision really broke the bank with that one. It's also a game I have never actually played personally.
It's amazing what people do to promote their games. In fact, Rockstar Games even paid to receive negative press for their game Grand Theft Auto. So it's quite interesting how people market them.
Speaking of promotion, we should probably wrap this spiel up. Thank you so much, Danger Dolan, for joining me in these random video game facts and things. If you haven't already, make sure you check out and subscribe to Danger Dolan's channels. I'll whack the links in the description below for you to check out. We also just did a collab together on his channel too, titled Countries Where Video Games Were Banned for Unexpected Reasons. Go and check it out right now. Make sure you also thumbs up this video, it really helps and supports both of us. Subscribe to Super Mayhem if you're new too. Check out some of our other videos, leave a comment below for video suggestions, random facts you know, or just say hi. Let's be a little bit social here, guys. Anyway, that's it from us today. Thanks again to Danger Dolan, and I'll catch you soon. Bye. A huge thanks to Jacob Clark for being our first Mayhem supporter. Without the likes of him, I wouldn't be running. If you want to join the team, please consider taking a look at our Patreon page in the description below, for your chance to get some exclusive behind the scenes looks at Super Mayhem, and even access to some sweet downloads.